insight, tips, and trends, hear from some great speakers? Awesome. I'm Eric Kazda, owner of Quantum Dynamics. We're the sponsor of this track. It's our pleasure to have a lot of great speakers in this room for the business leader session. Our first speaker is Purna Virgi. She's named Ppc Hero, named by Ppc Hero as the #1 most influential PPC expert in the world. Purna specializes in SEM, SEO, and future search trends. With over a decade in search, she's a regular keynote speaker at conferences across the globe, such as MozCon and HeroConf, and is a columnist for Search Engine Land and The Drum. Award-winning former journalist, Purna was CEO of Purview Marketing prior to joining the Bing Ads team. In her spare time, she's an avid traveler, aspiring top chef, and an amateur knitter. So, please welcome Purna.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you guys so much. So that was really all my nerd credentials, and yes, I am a giant nerd. I also woke up at stupid o'clock this morning, so I've had lots of coffee, so bear with me, and I have another cup right there. But first, I'm going to ask you guys to close your eyes just a little bit, don't fall asleep, and I want you to imagine something for me. Take yourself back 10 years ago, okay? It's 2007, and you're walking down the streets of Lancaster, and you see somebody talking to themselves. What do you think about them? What do you assume? You can answer me, any one of you.
They're crazy.
They're crazy, exactly. Okay, open your eyes now. We're back in the present. You're walking down the streets of Lancaster. You're walking down Prince Street. You see somebody talk to themselves. What do you assume now? They're on their phone, exactly. Do you see how these technology changes have changed not only what we assume as the technology, but what we assume as acceptable behavior? And that's my theory. My theory is that technology goes in 10-year shifts, and we are about 5 or 6 years into the next big 10-year shift. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm not going to give you any tactical tips. Wait, don't run out, I promise. I want to just open your eyes to the possibility of what's coming, how search is changing, and what you need to be paying attention to as marketers. So if you have any questions at any time, you can always hit me up on Twitter. I am obsessed with Twitter, sadly, so I'm always on it. So you can always hit me up. So let's start with showing you just a little bit of what this involves. So I have a little, really short 20-second clip of this lady, and she wants to go and buy a dress that she's seen in a magazine. And take a quick look.
Cortana, I want a dress like this. Can you help me find one? I like this one. Yes, please. Can I get it in a size 6? Cool. Cortana, please give them my payment and shipping.
What's your first reaction?
Awesome.
It's quite cool, right?
Quick. Cool.
But also let me ask you this. Did you see any landing page at all? No. And that's something else we should be paying attention to is it's not landing pages are dying. It is more of a new way to interact. Just how mobile came in when we had desktop, it didn't kill desktop. It was just another option for us to use. We're going to start seeing that with these personal assistants. And how did she find the dress she was looking for? Did she type it in and describe it? Just took a photo of the magazine and then it found it for her. That's visual search. So I want to talk to you guys about the new players in the game, which are visual search and conversational search. So I'm just going to show you some examples of how it's evolving and hopefully it'll start marinating in your head while it's time to kick it off. Let's start with the visual. Now, how many of you have ever interacted with a map listing on your phone? We all have. Ever bought something or clicked on a shopping app that showed up on Google or Bing? Yeah. Oh, what about those videos on Facebook where you watch those recipe videos and like you watch the whole thing. And then if you're like me, you convince yourself that you can make it that quickly and eat it again. Sadly, disappointment. But we are visual creatures. We travel with our eyes, we fall in love with our eyes, we eat with our eyes. It just makes sense that the future of search has a visual component to it. In fact, if you look at research and studies that were done by a company called Pixelwork Design, we're 80% more likely to interact with content that has relevant imagery attached to it. Now, image search also has another benefit. Now, can I ask you fine people in the room to tell me the name of that tool? See, exactly. Thank God I'm not the only one. I showed this slide to somebody else in California, and they were like, "This is what it's called, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Oh, I have no idea."
An offset screwdriver.
Sir, that's a phenomenal guess. It would be far better. I would have called it the Z-shaped thingy, but... Now imagine me walking into Home Depot telling the guy, "Listen, I need to buy that Z-shaped thingy." He'll be like, "Girl, please leave." How do you search for something if you don't know the words to describe it? That's why image search can have a huge impact. It really counts because not only is it easy and convenient, like yes, I can take a picture of the dress I saw in the magazine and quickly find what I'm looking for, but here I can also find things that I may not have the words for. And all of this is possible now, even though look, image search is not new. It's been there since well over a decade. I remember in 2003, Google had launched this image search, and they had, I think, all of 250 million images. We're like, wow. If you think about that number now, it's tiny. There's trillions and trillions. But it's getting better and better because the rises in artificial intelligence and machine learning have helped to identify the images much better. In fact, at Microsoft, we've had this project to train the computer to look at a photo and recognize it the way a human would. Now, it doesn't sound that impressive, right? It's like, okay, computer, that's a chair, what is that? It's like, oh, it's a chair. But what about human contextual understanding? Let's look at this picture in the middle. What do you guys see in this photo? What do you see? Who's playing soccer? Kids playing soccer. You see, as humans, we know that the adults in the picture are coaching or supervising. They're not playing. What would you expect the computer to see there if you showed it to the computer? Grown-ups and children? No. So that's CaptionBot.ai, which is an AI that we originally created for fun, but then it's actually really quite useful. She says, "I'm not really confident, but it's a group of children playing football," which is the correct word for soccer, y'all, in a parking lot. So it understood the context that though there are adults very much right next to the children, they're not playing. Now, why do you think the computer thought it was a parking lot?
Because of the lines in the photo.
Exactly, it's the lines, it's the concrete surface. It used its sort of contextual understanding to get it. It's super advanced now. So of course, if you can think about how good the computer is at recognizing things, let's think of the different uses. I could be walking down the street and really like the handbag that I see, that I could just pick up my phone, put my camera in front of it and be like, "Hey, where can I buy this?" And it will tell me, "Here's this fancy handbag. You can get it on Purna.com for $60. That doesn't exist, by the way, so don't go there looking for handbags. And this type of technology does exist today. The Amazon app has it, for example. Or there's things like CamFind, or tons of apps. So I just took a photo of my mouse at home, and it said, "Oh, this is the Surface mouse. You can find it in the store. Here's how much it costs." Think of the other implications for a business if you're a retailer. Who are your models normally? The models that you hire to wear your clothes on the website or in the picture. But now, anyone who buys a handbag from Purna.com is my model. They're walking down the street. I see you there. I really like your handbag. I don't want to go up to you because I don't know you and ask you. So I'll do the next best thing. I'll take a photo. Not as creepily though. And then I can identify where to buy it. then again, going back to just the regular search results, how can image search help you in the search? Well, both Google and Bing do this, where they let you find things by typing the normal way or by uploading an image. And there is a really good use for this image search that is not practical in your life at all, but quite interesting. If you upload your own photo, you can try to find your doppelganger. That's me. And I'm not sure which one is the evil one. I suspect it's me. Okay, that may be freaky or fun, but think back to the practical applications. Now, what I can do in Bing search, which sets us apart from Google, is I can now, if you see that little square box in the top left of the photo, I can take that box and mouse over any part of the image. So now imagine I was looking at a photo of Taylor Swift. Again, and I really like the bag that she was carrying or her earrings. I could now just mouse over that, and then all of a sudden, all the pictures that would come up would be of that. So it's image within an image search. Again, if you think who else is doing this, Pinterest. They have something called Shop the Look now. So Pinterest is fantastic as a discovery engine. They also want to be a conversion engine. So you can go there and if you look at somebody, the model wearing the clothes and the pants and the bangle and all that, you can hit anyone and you can buy it. Very, very cool. If more places around your consumers are starting to do this, it's going to become normal for your consumer, and they'll also expect the same kind of interactions from you as well. And it's translating to real life as well. Nordstrom is piloting this, where you can try on clothes without actually trying them on. So in their computers, you can pick the outfit that you want, it scans your body, you stand in front of it, it puts those clothes in front of you. It's the same Snapchat technology, right? Where you can put the bunny ears and it knows where your ears are. So here it does that with your clothes. So easy. That would give me an incentive to go to the actual physical store when, online shopping is really taking away from the brick and mortar a lot. And they're not the only ones. Do you guys remember the designer Rebecca Minkoff? Right? So last year, New York Fashion Week, what she did was really clever. Everyone in the audience could download this augmented reality app called Seek It. Then, as the models were walking down the runway, looking perfect, because that's what they're paid to do, the people in the audience could look and see how those clothes would look on their own body. Pretty cool from a consumer standpoint. Think about the business standpoint. Now, Uri Minkoff, who's Rebecca's brother and works in the same business, said that they see, on average, with them and amongst retailers in general, a 20 to 40% return rate. What would you do if 40% of your clients are like, no, thank you? It's expensive. It's a cost to process the returns. It's a cost to even take them back. But if technology can help you try things on and avoid that, it's a big win for the business. Now, how many of you know what she's wearing? Do you know what the device is called?
The HoloLens.
The HoloLens, very good. So HoloLens is Microsoft's mixed reality device. Now, there's 3 kinds of reality, or 4 if you're taking some fun substances, but the first one is this virtual reality, which if you put something on, you're transported into another world, right? It's something you wear, you don't see the world around you, it's just another world. Then you have augmented reality, which is like Pokemon Go. You see your real world, but things are superimposed on top of it. The third thing is called mixed reality. Now, anyone saw the movie Minority Report, that Tom Cruise movie? Yes, remember he's walking around and he can touch his computer and all? Okay, so think of that, but really much cooler. Here, mixed reality means you can have these virtual elements mixing in with your reality, and you can use each of them to control the other. So I can control things in my real world with the virtual world, and vice versa. So let me show it to you actually in action. It's easier to see.
What can we do now with holograms that we couldn't before? We don't know all the answers yet, and there's just tons of blue sky ahead of us.
As soon as you can change somebody's understanding, then they can change the way they see the world.
It just totally changes the relationship between the creator and their creation.
It's just amazing. We're going to radical collaboration. It's completely changing the way people actually approach design.
It's going to push us in ways that we weren't pushing ourselves before.
What excites me the most is what people will do with this technology, what they will build. That's where all of those surprises are going to come from.
We're on the cutting edge of this becoming the way people consume media and create media. I'm just so excited to watch that progress.
This is going to be a big technology movement going forward. It's going to change everything.
And it will change everything. You know, some studies I remember reading said that in 5 years we may not even have mobile phones anymore. I'm like, what? I can't live without mine. But they said that if you just have wearables, everything's in one. I can project my screen, I can have phone calls, I can watch TV through my wearable. I don't need an actual TV. And now let's look at the business benefits as well. How many of you are like a B2B, like some kind of manufacturing? Okay, quite a few of you. Now, have you ever had to showcase your products or services or teach people how to do things? So much easier if you had a hologram in front of them. Think of assembling IKEA furniture, right? It's always really impossible, even if it leads to divorce, but no. If you had the hologram, we might put this part in here, and like this screw is just extra, there's no purpose. And it would make life much easier. Education as well. We may not even have to have all of us in this room at some point in the future. Right? We could all just come in with our holograms. I'll be a hologram. You'd all be sitting here and we'd see each other. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Think about the implications to the earth and no one has to take as many flights. Or travel and education. If a hotel industry or a travel industry wanted to showcase their services and offerings and come take a tour of my hotel, they could do it as a 3D hologram. Or if I wanted to see Machu Picchu and decide between going to Peru or going to Rome and seeing the Colosseum, well, I could look at each one and feel like I'm in each one and make the right choice. Or in terms of education purposes, if you're trying to teach young children about history, you can have them look at the hologram and you can bring it all to life. How amazing. Or any fans of cars in the room? Why go to a massive car showroom? Or why, as a car seller, why have massive showrooms and spend all that money? I could just have someone put on the HoloLens and have a hologram of the car in front of me, and I can change the make, the model, the style, the color, with just the tap of a finger. And if I wanted to just take all the surface part out and just look at the underneath machinery that goes inside the cars, do that in a second. But that's not the only place. We're all marketers, we're advertisers. Everyone bored with ads a little bit? Everyone fed up with those banner ads that bug you everywhere? We've all developed banner blindness to a certain extent. If I was 400 million of us have put in ad blockers on our mobile devices, according to KPCB Internet Trends, well, there's hope for that. Virtual reality can help advertising too. In fact, there was a study done by uni that took the exact same content of an ad in 2D and then in virtual reality. And they found the engagement was 34% more emotional engagement when they viewed it in VR than in the same static 2D. The content didn't change, it's just the interactivity and the fun. And of course they were suspecting like, hey, maybe it's just a fad, that's why they like it more. But they did a lot more really deep, in-depth studies that looked at like brainwave patterns and everything, and they're like, no, it's actually, this is true. If the content is that interactive, people want to engage with it. And now some of the car companies are doing it, where you see a display ad that has a car, and then you can just mouse and do a 360 view of the car in just an ad. So it's not that complicated, but that's interesting. And finally, there's one more really cool thing. I think this is the one I'm most sort of fascinated, terrified by a little bit. It's emotion detection. Anyone fans of Big Bang Theory here? Okay, Chris, definitely you. Have you watched that episode where Sheldon builds that emotion detection automation machine? Okay, so Sheldon's the main character, and he has a hard time reading people's emotions. So he builds this machine that if you point to different people, you can tell what they're feeling. And so he built it because he wanted to use it to identify his true friends and destroy his enemies. But now I don't recommend we use it for destroying enemies. But as an advertiser, let's think of how could we use this technology, right? If a computer can look at somebody's face or their picture and guess what they're thinking and their reaction is, hey, think of focus grouping. How much better would that be? We've all done these little heat maps of clicking around the websites, but if I had created this brand new piece of content or this video or say any creative asset, and I wanted to have people check it, I get the true reaction. I don't get what they tell me, I get what they really feel. And that's going to be a great mark of trustworthiness and accuracy. So, what can you do with image search, and why is visual search important? It's a great new, easy way for you to get discovered. So I want you to go back and look at the images that you have and go and do old school SEO on them, like circa 10 years ago, because image SEO really hasn't changed. Regular SEO has, but with the images, it's still file name, the description, the size. You want to put in all sort of schema markup that you can on your website. Try to give the search engines like me and Microsoft and Google as much information as you can, so we can serve your images better at the right time. You can use this to understand your audiences and then also engage with them more effectively. Let's go to conversational. Right? This is pretty much the first skill we learn as humans. You start talking. You may babble as babies incoherently, but people talk to you, you talk back. It is the very first thing we do. So it makes sense that we should go talk to search engines as well. Like, why should we only have one type of search where you type? Now, to show you how good computers are at being human, I want you to play a little game. So I'm going to show you a couple of different creatives, and I want you guys to guess whether you think a human created them or an AI. So let's start with this little poem. You can just shout it out when you think you know. Human? How many of you say human? Okay, only a handful of you. It is human, so good job. This is a poem that my colleague Erin wrote, and I think she's a very good poet. What about this article in the Washington Post? How many of you think AI? Okay, but half of you, good job. It is an AI. Isn't it? No. So the Washington Post has an article writing bot called Heliograph that can take facts and turn them into these very factual, objective articles. So this one, which is reporting some election results, is a perfect example of an article that Heliograph can seamlessly write, because there's no opinion or anything that needs to be added. Kind of scary, but the Washington Post is doing it. And what about this painting? Any art fans, Rembrandt fans? Okay, what do you think? Rembrandt or not?
I don't know, I'm not that much of a Rembrandt.
Now half of you are guessing this is probably a trick question. This is actually an AI. Microsoft's AI research team went and had their AI study all the different works of Rembrandt. So they studied his use of subjects, his use of lighting, the clothes they wore, the angles that they posed in, and then it was tasked with creating its own unique painting. That's what it came up with. Pretty good. But it gets even better. If you've ever seen a painting in real life, you see there's always a little 3D effect of paint on canvas, right? This AI printed it out and layered the ink in such a way to replicate that same 3D effect. So it's a really good portrait. We could sell it, but we won't. But again, computers are so good at being human that this stat always makes me giggle. It says, so the next couple of years, we'll have more conversations with bots than with our spouses. And my husband always is really happy. He's like, great, nag the bot, not me, and it will work. But it's true, we're really good at engaging with computers and not realizing it. Because the computers are really, really good at passing off as human. Scary? Well, they're there to just serve you. So let me give you the example of Shawai. So apart from Quest, how many of you have heard of Shawai? Okay. Shawai is, well actually Shawai loosely translates into Little Bing. So she is our bot that we created in China back at the end of 2014. And we created her to see how well AIs will engage with humans and can we build a bond between an AI and a human, right? Like the movie Her almost, but not quite. So they built her with really high IQ and really high EQ, so the emotional quotient, so she can build a rapport. So if you tell her that, oh, I really love dogs, she'll talk to you about different dog breeds. If you tell her you've broken up with your boyfriend, she'll put you on a 32-day breakup recovery plan. And she'll check in with you every day, she'll empathize. She's got over 40 million users in China, and people love her there. They spend so much time talking to her that the average conversation with her is 26 turns. What do I mean by that? I'll talk to you, you'll talk back to me, that's 2 turns. So 26 turns back and forth with the bot. So what do they talk to her about? I'll let you have a little read. One in 4 have told her they love her. And I thought, okay, one in 4 is not that much, but that's 10 million out of 40 million, you guys. That's a lot of people to say, I love you to a bot. She works. And she's got such a strong, she's got the personality of a young girl, so she's very like sweet and kind and giggly a little bit. And it works really well for her. She does product endorsements. She even reads out the weather on Chinese news show, Dragon TV in Shanghai. Now, have we ever watched the news here? Of course, right? You watch the meteorologist, and they'll be like, okay, Lancaster is going to be 70 degrees and windy, blah, blah, blah. Then he'll move on to the next township or city. Not Shawai. When Shawai reads out the weather, and I was in Singapore recently, and I had my colleague translate it for me, she literally says, like, oh, it's going to be really windy today, but don't worry, you won't blow away. Just carry your shawl so you don't catch a chill. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. She's more human than the human. And she also has now become a tour guide. So if you're looking at the old, like the Silk Route and other tourist spots in China, she can be your tour guide. So if you're walking around those spots, you can talk to her and ask her questions like, hey, when was this built? Or who comes here? Or who was this king? And she will answer and have this whole conversation. Think of her LinkedIn resume. It must be pretty awesome. All that she can do. But it just goes to show that we are happy to engage with an AI if it can make us forget that it's not human. And that's where we can really, really shine and have these conversations. Let's go back to search again and show you how it's evolving. Now, we're so used to going to a search engine and then typing in what we're looking for. And search engines are great. They can give you the results, what you've asked for. There's, yes, lots of entering goes in behind, but there's not much more interaction beyond that. But with voice search, again, if you talk to it, it'll respond right back to you and try to help you and try to serve you and personalize it for your interest. So if you say that, hey, when do I need to leave for the airport, it will look at traffic, it'll understand all your intent a lot better. But there's something more that we can even do with our search. Now, some of you have your desktops open. Can you do that search for me as well? Just search for Monsoon Seattle in Bing.com, because it only works in Bing, because we have it, Google doesn't. And it doesn't work on the phones, because it's super early pilot. Now, notice anything different in this listing? There you go. Do you have any questions about Monsoon Restaurant? Ask the bot for help. And if you click on that, a little Skype, it's like, hey, can I bring my dog? Do you have veggie options? Or in fact, let me show it to you in action.
Running your restaurant is enough of a challenge. And taking time out of your day to answer BP questions is frustrating, not to mention inefficient. Introducing Bing Business Bot, an intelligent virtual employee from Microsoft. When a customer looks you up, they'll have the option to initiate a chat. Bing Business Bot can answer both common and high-level questions to let customers conveniently access information that may not otherwise be easy for them to find. The bot also uses a familiar chat interface and recognizes natural language, so customers get their questions answered without needing to pick up the phone or send you an email. And the bot can evolve. If it doesn't know the answer to a question, it will reach out to you, learn the answer, and remember it for a future customer. It can even provide you with analytics and insights into what customers are asking about most often.
So this is super, super new, you guys. I got permission to share it with you all. And because it's in such early pilots, we're only started in Seattle, where we're headquartered, and only for restaurants just yet. But the plan is, of course, to expand it across the world and for across different businesses. So those of you who have a local business listing, imagine getting chat added onto it. And you would add it in. You would add in the questions and answers that come in, so you have full control. And it saves the user time. Rather than me having to go to Monsoon's website and look for, are they pet friendly? What are the different things on their menu that I can eat if I'm vegetarian? Where can I park? 2 seconds, I can answer it right there. And this is the world we're living in. We want the faster, we want the seamless. Right? Why do you take an Uber instead of a taxi? It's so much easier, right? You get in, you reach your destination, you get out, you're done. You don't need to take out your wallet and pay. That's an element of friction that we've taken out. And that's what BusinessBot can do. So again, super early pilot, but I wanted to share it with you to get you thinking. That's when you create the bot that Bing will serve in Bing Search. What if Bing can create a chatbot on the fly? So I'll show you a super sneak peek. You can't replicate this because it's not live for everyone yet. But this is something called InfoBot, where it can create a chatbot on the fly. So say if I was looking for the history of Singapore in Bing, it could create a chatbot on the fly from Wikipedia. And then I could just ask it the questions instead of doing the research for myself on Wikipedia. So I can be like, hey, what's the ethnic breakdown? What is the currency in Singapore? You know, what's the weather like in September? I can ask it all these questions, and it will help me right there. And Wikipedia didn't create this. Bing did on the fly. And this is so new. We're only testing this with sites like Wikipedia or recipes, WebMD, but you know, hopefully as things go well, it would be so fascinating to see what this could become. But then, okay, that's great with typing, but sometimes we can't use our hands, and I don't want to be using my thumbs to type, or I may not have thumbs to type, but we want to use voice. How many of you used like your personal digital assistant in the last 24 hours? Okay, a few of us. Yeah, these are a fair amount of numbers. We see the certain percentage. Where have you used it, if you don't mind me asking?
I use it to check the games a lot, to keep track of all my team scores, just to think about the games I've missed.
That makes sense. What about you, Sarah?
Setting reminders.
Such a smart thing to do. Where do you find yourself using it? Like, where are you when you tend to use this?
On the go.
On the go, usually.
At home, in the office.
At home, in the office, doing something else. You're busy, you're driving, you're watching TV, you're cooking, you are walking, you want to find something out. You'll talk to the bot. And we do see that the cars, especially while driving, is the number one place. Because think about it. We're still pretty productive mentally while driving, right? We're not sleeping. We can do things. We just can't use our hands. So if I could have a system that relied on me going hands-free, of course I would use it and then book everything that I wanted. Now, if I have to look at the different age ranges that use voice search, still pretty heavily skewed towards the younger age groups, but it's been growing consistently. And if we look at Cortana usage in particular, it tends to be really evenly split amongst all the different age groups. Again, tied, mirroring very similarly Bing's demographics. But watch this video for a second.
Shogi Met's black shoes from Adidas priced under $75.
Okay, did it not feel like it took forever for this side? And you guys, it was only 22 seconds. But this is the age that 22 seconds feels like infinity, when we can do things faster. Like, our standards are changing because technology is getting better, faster, stronger. We wanted to keep up with all of us. And that's what voice search can do. Can you guess how many words we can type per second? Take a guess, on average. What's that you said?
I said, I don't know anymore.
On a phone or desktop?
Oh, I guess desktop.
Maybe 60 words a minute.
Yeah, that's pretty fast. On average, it's about 38 to 40 words per minute. But how many words a minute do you think we can speak? Yeah, about 110 to 150. Oh, 500 when I'm yelling at my husband. 110 to 150. So it's 3.75 times faster to talk than to type. So it just makes sense that we'll find ourselves using this technology more because it's convenient and using it slightly differently because it's easier. If I'm doing a regular desktop search for something, I'll do the bare minimum. I'll use computer language because that's what we're used to doing when we talk to the computer. You know, if I'm looking to buy a bicycle around me, I'll just type into bing.com, buy bicycle, and it'll give me stuff around me. But if now I'm having a conversation with Chris, I'm gonna be like, Chris, buy bicycle. You can be like, what? Like, go buy bicycle. We wouldn't do that. When I'm talking to Chris, I'd be like, hey, where's the best place to buy a bicycle in Lancaster? And in that way, we change how we talk to it because it's easier to say the 4 words. And the other thing it does is it gives us its intent. So, again, think of buy bicycle. You know I was going to buy one. But what if I did a search for digital camera? What am I looking for? Yeah, we're looking to buy one, you think? We guess, that's what we do. That's all that we can do right now. And if we're PPC marketers, we'll still search an ad. As SEOs, we're like, I want to rank for digital camera because I sell it. But what if I'm looking for digital camera software, digital camera reviews? We won't see that, and our ad may be wasted. But with voice search, because it's easier to talk and they'll do the longer queries, the intent is so much more clear. What's the best waterproof digital camera? There you go. Now I know they're looking to maybe buy one, and they're looking for something that's waterproof. All of a sudden, I know exactly what my audience wants in their own words, which is the big, fantastic advantage of things like voice search. It also has a huge local skew, so voice searches on mobile devices are 3 times more likely to have local intent than text searches. So what you guys should be thinking about is making sure you optimize all your business listings and do them on all 3 platforms. So if I do a search from Cortana, she'll use Bing Places for Business. If I do a search on Google's voice assistant, it'll use Google Maps. And if I do a search on Siri, for example, she'll use Apple Maps. So make sure you're covering all your bases, and your name, address, phone number, everything has to be super accurate and spot on. So, things to think about. Try to get chatting. It's really interesting to play with different bots. If you have access to Facebook Messenger or Skype, try and find bots for different brands and play around with it and see how you like the experience. For example, Skyscanner has a great chatbot on Skype, or QVC has a really great chatbot on Facebook Messenger. So play around with these different ones. See how you interact with them, and they can make life a lot easier for your customer. And then it can help you get found a lot more easily. So With that, I will encourage you guys to use your voice and hit me up on Twitter at any time. I'm always on there, or LinkedIn. But otherwise, thank you so much. And we have time for questions, and Julia can answer any questions, but...
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of thoughts do does Bing have in regards to like accessibility? So, image search, the VR bot technology, voice. How is what kind of thoughts do you have of accessibility for visual impairments or speech impediments or anything like that?
Yes, well, massive. It's a huge priority for us all across Microsoft, not just at Bing, but accessibility is one of the number one things that we all are focusing on heavily as a brand. And in that way, if you think about even our approach to artificial intelligence and emerging tech, we look at it as a way of empowering humans to engage with it. If I have to learn to use a computer, then only the people who learn how to use a computer can use a computer. But now if I can talk to it, I can be illiterate, I can have heavy arthritis, I cannot be able to type, but still talk to a search engine or interact with it. We are training it to recognize things. In fact, there's actually a lovely video that I can share a link to later, which is called the Seeing AI. And we're constantly developing things like this. So I'll give you the example. This was developed by one of my colleagues, originally from London, but he's moved to the West Coast office now, called Saqib Sheikh. He has been blind since he was 7, and he's an engineer at Microsoft. He can type with braille and wiggles into how he's typing. He created this technology that was based on these artificial intelligence APIs that we have, like the visual recognition. So if he's walking down the street and he wants to, see what's around him, he presses a button on his smart glasses, or there's an app on the phone, and it will describe the scene to him. It'll be like, hey, we see a firestone in front of us. There's a white truck past there, driven by a young girl, aged 20, looking. And so it literally lets you see the world by describing the world around you. And we're constantly trying to do things like that. In fact, we're really big on even hiring from all different walks of life. And there's a huge diversity hiring program at Microsoft, because we found that once you get people from all walks of life, you get different sensitivities. However much you and I may empathize and try, but you don't know all the struggles of somebody who may be seeing impaired or hearing impaired. But if we get an engineer like that, they can code in that way. Something else that our Microsoft team did at a hackathon was they created this little system. It looks almost like a mouse, but you can mouse over any book and it turns it into braille, because it just will pop out the different dots in a different way. So then no book is off limits. You can read anything. Or you can now type and it'll hear back. So again, everything we do, and that's why we are insistent that voice works, image works. If you want to do something, find different multi-sensory ways to interact so you can still use it to make your life better. Yes, sir.
So I've seen tons of demos where people have done the thing, like bot demos, where they've shown, I want the black pair of shoes, like you said, under the lowest price or whatever. Who determines what, and from a business advantage, which black shoe from which company shows up? Like who basically gets the business at the end of the day? And how do us as business owners basically, thrive at that table and try to get in that limelight?
So there's two ways. So A, it can be if you as a business build a skill for the system. So
Gotcha.
So you're teaching Cortana or Alexa how to interact with your business. So you can give it your product catalog, and you can have your own defining queries for preferences for what you want to come up. So it says, Alexa does this. If you say, Alexa, I want to buy laundry detergent, like Amazon's choice is, and that'll come up. The other way is if you don't specify a skill and it uses search as its skill to find you, so then it is your regular algorithm that goes in and it will track you with that. So if you're like, where do I buy a bicycle near me? It'll be whatever tends to rank well. Right now, Cortana uses just the SEO algorithm. We don't have a separate algorithm for voice yes. I don't know if it's coming. I don't know if it is not coming. But for now, it's there.
Do you see the ability for businesses to potentially use the same technology for their own uses? So, like Microsoft would either have a subscription for a business to use the voice technology, but train it for their own purposes and for other types of applications.
Oh yeah, they're all available for everyone to use. So we are a big believer, and Satya, our CEO, calls it democratizing AI, because we're taking it and creating it, these APIs that anyone can use, and the barrier to entry is really low. It's like often free to get started with an API, and it's just based on usage is what you get billed. So it's very low risk. In fact, if you go to, if you just do a search in Bing for cognitive services, that has a list of all our 25, I think we're at right now, APIs. So one could be image recognition, if I were to put that on my website, for example, or my app, or I have it in my chatbot. Any platform that you choose, you can embed it in there. And same thing with language understanding of voice. So you can have all of your technology do that. And we want to make it easier for everyone to do that. Because I mean, the fact of our life is today, there's far more demand for this talent than the actual supply to fulfill it. So we said we want to put, obviously the big companies can hire a lot of that talent. So if we can take it, develop it, and give it back to everyone, it's really going to change the whole world. Any more questions? Awesome, I'll be hanging out for a little bit. I'm going to leave at 10 because I have to get a train back. But thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.